I like to call this one the Hail Mary pot. This feels really heavy for some reason. Yeah, there's crab. Holy. Well, it's been a little while. Today, we're gonna use these guys right here. You'll get some crabs. But first, we got a little prep work we need to do. We need to, get the crabbing gear ready. And I'm gonna talk a lot about crabbing gear today. But first, we have another pressing issue, and that's has to do with this kayak right here. So, for the most part, this kayak's been super great to me. I was a little worried getting a motored kayak, because I thought maybe there'd be a lot more maintenance involved, but really, it hasn't been an issue, and I've been taking this thing all over the place. Surf launches in the ocean, so salt water, sand, all kinds of stuff. And for the most part, it's been pretty good, but right now I have a small issue that I need to fix. So this is the first little issue that we have, and this is the paddle holder on the side of my kayak. It just kind of slides in there, and then this band right here locks it in place. But as you can see, the elastic on this band is broke. So we got a replacement part from Old Town. This is just gonna be a quick, simple fix. There's just 2 screws, pop them in, pop them out, and then get this new one in there. All right, new one in. And I actually flipped it around this time so that the elastic goes up and over. There's a little bit, like when I'm sitting in the kayak, there's a little bit of trouble to latch this in on the bottom side. So we'll see how this works out. But anyways, brand new one in. And that was the easy fix. So this one has to do with this guy right here, which is the motor for my kayak. It's a Minn Kota 45-pound thrust trolling motor. And for the most part, it's been great to me. And I got the remote here. So you can see, you can turn that on. Right here going. No problem spinning. The motor's working just fine, but the one part that's broken is the rotational feature on this guy. So on the kayak, or on the remote here, there's little arrows left and right. So if we do that, where is it? Right here. You can see I'm hitting the buttons. Oh my God, we might have a miracle on our hands. So the issue is it's spinning, so it spins when the motor's off, but once the motor's on, well, I take it back. It wasn't spinning before. Last time I was out there, it wasn't spinning, but now seems to be spinning just fine. We'll keep an eye on that. I do have the kit, so I talked to the people over at Old Town, and they were saying that it's a brush replacement is likely the issue. So if it goes out again, at least I have the parts to go and fix it. But for now, I don't know what the deal is. It hasn't been working for like the last 10 times out. I haven't been able to rotate left and right. So now that we got the kayak back up and running, now, let's get our crab gear. There's everything. So, starting from left to right, we got our hoop nets. I usually run 4 for my kayak, but there's actually no limit. You can run as many as you want. I find that 4 is the perfect mix between manageability, carryability, meaning how much I can fit on my kayak, and then also optimizing, the yield, the amount of crab I'm catching for the time I put in. We got bait cages, and there's a ton of different kinds here. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We got our crab aerator. And this isn't totally necessary, but I'll talk about this more once we actually catch the crab. That's to keep them alive, keep them fresh. Crab gauge, super necessary. It's actually required by law to use this to measure any crab that you have, make sure they're of legal size. We got our buoys and our rope. And what does all of this have in common? Well, it's all made by Promar, and I can get you a sweet little discount on any of this gear if you're interested in getting set up for crab. They're offering a sweet little discount for all of you with the promo code linked in the description. For the time being, just because we're first starting out, I'm not exactly sure how long this is going to go, so jump on this quick while you can. They're offering 20% off site-wide to anything that you need, whether it be gaffs, nets, crabbing gear. They have some fishing gear as well. There's all kinds of stuff on their website. Make sure to check them out. But yeah, promo code will be linked down in the description, and that 20% off code is only for a limited time. But then after that, if you come back 6 months from now and you figure, oh, I need to get some new bait cages, that promo code is still gonna be good, but it's only gonna be good for 10% off. And then if anything is on sale, let's say they're doing like a clearance thing or whatever, something's 25% off, that promo code's still gonna get you an extra 5% off whatever that sale price is. So it's always worth it to use the promo code. It's always gonna save you a little bit of money. So super excited to announce that, happy to share it with all of you. Thought it would help all of you as well as helping me out, helps the channel out a little bit as well. So anyways, there is that. Before we get out on the water, I'm going to talk more about the gear once we get out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about bait cages specifically because Promar offers a huge, wide selection of different bait cages, and I think each of them have their perks, have their pluses and minuses, depending on your situation. So let me just share with you a little information that I have. So first things first, when it comes to bait cages, in my opinion, there's basically two different categories. There's the cages that are built out of like, sturdy wire like this that's not gonna bend, and then there's bait bags. So I'll get to the bags in a second, but one thing that I like about the cages is that once you put it in the net or a cage, depending, right now we're not allowed to use crab traps, but when there's no whales around, we're allowed to use traps. The nice thing about the cages is that once you put it in there, it's sturdy. It's not gonna move around. All the bait's can be concentrated in one little area, and I'll talk about why that's a benefit over the nets here in a second. But yeah, super important, I think, to keep that bait right in the middle of your cage. And there's a bunch of different sizes here. There's this one little one here, which I'll talk about later. These are a little bit bigger, and I'll say the bigger ones are very useful, in my opinion, when you're going to be doing longer soaks, because obviously you can put more bait in the bigger cages, and obviously you're going to need a little more bait for that, so it might cost you a little bit more money. But if you're doing those longer soaks, it really pays off to have these bait cages stuffed full, so that you're catching crab the full time that cage is down there. If you just put a little bit of bait in here and you're doing an overnight soak or something with a cage or with a trap, a lot of times that bait will be eaten up in the first couple hours, and then obviously once there's no more bait in there, you're not going to be fishing effectively. So anyways, there's a couple of different sizes. This is one. This is the biggest one. I actually really like this one in the cages. This is the size and model that I use when I'm using crab traps. And while I'm at it, if you look at these cages, they're just the cage, right? So there's no way to clip it onto the hoop net or crab trap. And that's why they have these things, bait cage snaps. So these are super convenient. You can see it's just like a little clip on there. That allow you to clip these cages onto either the nets or the traps. And then moving on to the bags. So one positive of these bags, there's a couple of different models here. This is like a more plasticky, a little bit more rigid type bag, but obviously still malleable where you can bend it or mold it into whatever shape you want. And this is more of a like a rope style. I don't know how to describe it, but obviously way more flexible. You can form it to whatever shape you want. Also, you can use these clips to clip your bags in. This one comes with one clip. But like I was saying with the cages, one drawback with these bags, especially this one right here, is once you put it in, it's very liable to be pushed around by those crabs and the current and everything. So I find that once I put the bait in here, put it down there, it doesn't always stick right in the middle of the crab trap or hoop net. So that's one drawback. Obviously one of the benefits is because it's so malleable and you can mold it to whatever shape you want. You can put basically, you can put all kinds of different stuff in here. Let's say you have like a big fish head or something. Probably won't fit in one of these cages, but one of these bags, you can easily slide it in there, tighten it up, and then throw it down there. So anyways, that's my take on the bags versus the cages. Personally, what you're gonna see in this video is these cages. These are my favorite ones when I'm using hoop nets, and I'll tell you why. So the first reason is that it's a little bit smaller than these other cages that they offer. And the reason why I like that is because it sits right in the middle of this hoop net perfectly. Right in the middle of this little ring. So you're, here, let me take one out. Let's say that this is sitting on the ocean floor. And obviously this is going to be up because it's got this buoy on here. So we just have the crab trap, or the hoop net there, I should say. That bait cage sits right in the middle perfectly. and you can strap it down with these little clips that comes with the cage. Here, I'll take it out. Okay, so we're filming with one hand and trying to operate this with the other. Obviously a lot easier when you have two hands. But anyways, it comes with these little clips built in with the cage that are, you know, already pre-tied on here. And you can strap one end to that side, pull it as tight as possible on the other side. I'll show you it in practice once we get out on the water. But that way, that cage is strapped tightly and obviously not going to be able to move from the middle of this cage. And the reason that's important is because when these crabs come in, you know, if this was like right here, that crab could come in right here and just be feeding on that bait from the outside of the net. And basically once it's done feeding from the outside of the net, it's just going to wander on off. Or let's say it's feeding once you start picking up your net. You know, once you start lifting, that crab's going to freak out and there's going to be nothing keeping it in. So it's just going to let go and drift right on off. And that crab won't be coming home with you for dinner, which is what obviously you want to get as many crabs as possible. Sorry, my battery died on the camera. But anyways, just to summarize really quickly, a couple of reasons why I like these cages in particular for the hoop nets from my kayak is the size on the smaller end, because I don't need to put as much bait in here. I'm doing shorter soaks, and just the convenience, you know, having these little hook or clips attached right onto the cage. But that's what works out for me. That doesn't necessarily mean the situation that you're in is going to be the same. So, you know, just appropriately, depending on what your situation, if you're doing longer soaks or, you know, you're using crab traps more often, maybe a different bait cage is your best option. Anyways, that's it for the garage. Got my kayak fixed. Didn't actually need as much fixing as I anticipated, at least for now. And then I got all my crabbing gear sorted away. I'm actually gonna fill up these cages with bait now so that I don't have to do it when I'm out on the water. But yeah, on that note, we'll see you out on the water. Made it out. Kind of a rough surf launch. Not super big swell, but just like a washing machine in there. It seemed like I don't know if it's a mixed swell or what, but it seemed like the waves were just coming from all over the place. But we survived. First one I've done in a little while, so good to get that under my belt again. And now we've made it out. So, by the way, if you hear some noise off to the side here, it's a helicopter, the Coast Guard helicopter, right along the cliff, which usually means someone either, you know, went down the cliff and then got stuck out there, or I don't know, something like along that nature. But hopefully they're safe. Yeah, just a friendly reminder for anyone coming out to, you know, the beach or the ocean, coming out on the kayak, be safe out there. And the ocean, it doesn't feel sorry for anyone. So, but anyways, back to the crabbing. There's one confession that I will have to make is right after I filmed the first portion of this video, right after that, I got word of a herring spawn, and that was the last video I posted. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out. But basically, I had to cancel the crabbing trip to go chase the herring, and since that I filmed the first portion, they actually opened up they opened up two things. They opened up the commercial Dungeness crab season, and they also opened up crab traps for everyone, for recreational or commercial vessels alike. And so, you know, the crab trap thing, that doesn't really, I feel like, affect the fishing too much. But the commercial season, when that opens, traditionally the crabbing gets much more difficult. And so we'll see how things go. You know, technically I could have brought the traps out today, but as you can see, still got the hoop nets. I feel like we started the video with the hoop nets. We got to finish it. So we'll see how things go. You know, typically on the kayak, I like to use the hoop nets anyways, because crab traps, I feel like, are more of a long-term thing. Like, you're gonna come out, leave them overnight, and come back the next day. That's when the traps are much better. But, you know, we'll see how things go. We made it out, so we got to try to get some crab. Might be able to see the helicopter in the background there. But yeah, I guess enough talking. Let's drop our crab pots down and our hoop nets down and start fishing. Oh, and one more thing, I also realized once I got out here that I forgot my camera boom. So we'll be filming with this camera. Might be some different angles that you're used to for the first part of this. But once we drop our nets, I'll go back and get the camera boom, and then we'll come back to pull up the nets. So anyways, that's the plan for now. So we got our hoop nets here. So These nets are the smallest of, I think there's 4 different sizes that Promar makes. In my opinion, these are the easiest to manage from a kayak. So if you have a smaller vessel like a kayak, these are what most people use. If you have a bigger vessel like a boat, honestly, and especially if you're going to drop your nets out deeper, my honest opinion is that you should go with the bigger, heavier cages. Whatever the biggest, heaviest nets that you can handle are typically going to fish the best. So you know, in a kayak we're a little bit pressed for space and weight, so we use the lightest, smallest nets, and I've done pretty well with these as well. So, but if you can, go with the bigger nets. I know they're a little bit expensive, more expensive too, but like I said earlier, we have a promo code, so that'll help you out with that a little bit. But anyways, we got our first one set up here. What I like to do is toss the buoy out back so that we make sure that there's nothing tangled. And then I've already pre-rigged my bait cages. Just got to get them out of the ice chest here. Got my bait cage pre-rigged here with some old stuff I had in the freezer. So we'll toss this in the net. And like I was saying earlier, we get that right in the middle of the cage. Strap it down with the hooks that are already provided with these cages. And then that's it. We're going to drop it in now. All right, there it is. A little tougher doing this by hand, trying to hold the camera in one hand and drop pots with the other one. So I won't talk too much. We'll drop our other 3 nets, and then yeah, then we'll be fishing. Also, it looks like the Coast Guard helicopter over here dropped down a bucket and saved someone from the cliff there. So appreciate the help, Coast Guard. And for anyone else out there, make sure you stay safe. Don't go on the cliffs. It's not worth it. All right, number 2. Number 3, going in. Number 4, going in. We're heading in now. I'm gonna go get my camera stuff and let those soak for about an hour. I know a lot of people like to do shorter soaks, but me personally, I just like to do the long ones because I know this area, and you know, I feel like I'm in a good spot. If I was in a new area where I didn't know anything about the crabbing, yeah, I'd probably like to do some shorter soaks so that I can really dial it in and figure out where the crabs are. But honestly, today, especially today, because I don't have a lot of area to cover, you know, I traditionally would head out farther and deeper and drop my nets out there, but that's where all the commercial guys are, so I don't really want to go out there because I feel like they're going to scoop up all the crab. There's not going to be any left. So I dropped a lot of my stuff in shallower, and also it's just easier to manage in shallower. So anyways, we'll go do that, come back in about an hour, pick them all up, and then hopefully there's crab in there. If not, I don't really know what we're gonna do, but hopefully there's crab in there. Made it back out. Unfortunately, as you can tell, I'm a little bit wet. It's because I flipped my kayak on the way back out here. I don't know what it was. Honestly, it was way easier than the first time I went out. And I just timed it wrong. I hit a wave, and then my kayak got filled up with water. This little, you know, the little well right here. And then the next one hit me, and that one pushed me over the top. I almost saved it too. I was like this close to pushing it back up right, but no, we flipped. That happens to the best of us. Of all the times to flip, this is probably one of the best times, to be honest, because I didn't have any fishing gear. I didn't have any crabbing gear because it's all out here. And so yeah, there wasn't that much to get damaged, and honestly the kayak's still working fine. I don't think I damaged anything. The one thing I did lose was, well, actually I think I lost 2 things: my flip-flops and my crab gauge. Luckily I had a spare one in the car, but the first one that I had, or my primary crab gauge, was a nice Promar one, so now I'm stuck with this one. But anyways, luckily I had this backup, so if you don't have a backup crab gauge, recommend getting one. Like I said, the preferred one is the Promar crab gauge. They have the nice metal ones, so I'll have to get another one of those. But anyways, let's go ahead and get some crab. Seems like with crabbing, you always got to pay the price somehow, whether it be rough water, you know, just a lot of work, or today it was flipping. Coming up on our first net here. Luckily, I'm just soaked now, so honestly, you don't need to worry about, you know, getting smelly or crabby with all the gear. And with the crab nets, with these hoop nets, they have an open top, which you know, works in our favor, that the crabs can get in a lot easier, especially if you're doing a shorter soak. But also when you're pulling it up, you want to have a nice consistent pull. You don't want that thing to drop. Oh shoot, we got some crab. We got some crab. There's definitely some crab in there. I see I think at least 2 keepers, but we're gonna have to measure a couple of these and see where we are. This one for sure, look at this crab. Heck yeah, that's a nice one. That's probably 7 or so inches. We don't even really need to measure it, but we will anyways. Measuring keepers is fun. We'll drop out a couple of these smaller ones. Small, small, small. This one I think is close. It's a nice male. I'm pretty sure it's a keeper, but we're gonna measure that one. Small female, small. It's close. Might be a keeper. Small. Another one that's close. And one more small female. All right, attention. This one's escaping. No, come back. Oh, that was close. This is a lively one. All right, I guess we'll drop this down for now. This is my most shallow net, so we'll drop it back down and then I'll get this one on the way in. Just in case maybe we're one short or something, maybe this net will catch us one more while we're out there dealing with the other nets. So to measure these crab, we're measuring the carapace, which is this back shell, and there's 2 points, one on each side of the edge of that shell. And we're measuring, we don't want to measure the points themselves, but we want to measure right on top of those points, or right inside those points. So we take our crab gauge, and this is why you need a crab gauge, because the measurements are so fine. You know, the difference between a keeper and a non-keeper can be like 1/4 of an inch. And we're looking for 5 3/4. And this one's looking like it's gonna make it. Just over 5 3/4. This guy really wants to escape. We're gonna have to watch him. All right, so we have one end on one side, and that was just barely a keeper, but it is a keeper nonetheless. 5 3/4. And this is probably honestly one that the commercial guys couldn't keep, because I'm pretty sure the legal size for commercial Dungeness crab is 6 inches. So, and this one is just under 6, but above 5 3/4. So anyways, it's a keeper. I'm gonna throw it in. Just get this guy in there so he doesn't escape. Look at that. That is a beautiful crab right there. All the legs, really hard shell, and it's just big. I mean, look at this thing. The biggest notch on this gauge is 7 inches, and it's over that. Yeah, it's like 7 1/4. Amazing, amazing crab right there. Ooh, this one's close. Definitely close. Ooh, I think it's gonna make it. It hits. All right, it's a keeper. 3 keepers. And one more to measure. Oh, it kind of looks even bigger. Let's see. Yeah, it's a male. Get these claws out of the way. Oh, another one. Man, it's right there, but it hits. Yeah, that's keeper. All right, 4 keepers in the first pot. That's a good start. Usually what I like to do is drop 1 in shallow and then 3 out deeper. But this time I didn't go as deep as I normally do. And the shallow ones seem to do pretty well. So honestly, I probably should have dropped all 4 around here, but you know, it's already, what's done is done. So hopefully, because I didn't go as deep as normal, hopefully those do well as well. But only time will tell. All right, number 2. Let's go. Not gonna lie, this doesn't feel that heavy. Okay, here we go. All small. Yeah, these are all small. Honestly, this is more what I was anticipating with the commercial season being open. A lot of smaller crab. All small ones out here. Going in shallow might have been the move today. But we do have that one still soaking in there, so You know, worst case scenario is we'll go back in and pick that one up on the way in, and maybe there'll be a keeper or two left, but there's still two more nets out here. All right, net number 3. Hopefully this one fares a little bit better than the last one. Okay. Oh, that definitely feels heavier. Just keep it coming. Keep it coming. Yes. At least two keepers. 2 good keepers. Look at that one. That one and this one right here. Nice. And again, man, they just clipped. Dude, that guy almost just jumped out of the kayak. You see that? That crab literally almost just launched out of the kayak. A lot of small ones. This is what I was anticipating with the commercial season. All these little tiny crab. A lot of females, which is good. These crabs will, you know, spawn for the next generation of Dungeness crabs, so we have crabs to catch in the future. That's what we're looking for right there. Those are a couple of really nice Dungeness crab right there. All the legs, super hard shells, and big. This one's probably, yeah, both probably around 7 inches. Definitely keepers. Better than keepers, to be honest. And now we're on number 4. Although we still have one more. We still have the one in shallow soaking right now, but this is the last one. I always feel like they feel heavier at the end because you're getting more tired, but yeah, I think 1 keeper in that one. Yeah, that's keeper. The rock crabs are like the gym bros of crabs. When it comes to arms, you know, their claws, they got some good sized claws on them. But in terms of their legs, yeah, they definitely skipping leg day. They're so good at like backing into rocks and stuff to hide from predators, so that when they get in these nets, they tend to get tangled up in them. Look, there's 3 of them in there. Almost there. And look at them just hanging on. There it goes. 1 keeper in that one. So I think that brings us to 7 total. That's not bad. We'll see if we get any. I'm not too optimistic on that one because it's not soaking for very long, but there's a chance. All right, I like to call this one the Hail Mary pot. Oh, let's see. Did good the first time, but that was on a much longer soak. So we'll see if any more crawled in there while I was checking my outside nets. If I got 1 more in there, honestly, that'll be a win. This feels really heavy for some reason. I feel like there's some crab in there. Yeah, there's crab. Holy smokes! Oh my god, that was on like a 10-minute soak. No, a little bit more. That was like a 15-minute soak, I think. Look at all those crab. In 15 minutes, that many came in. The crabs were definitely feeding today, and honestly, we had 7 keepers going into this one, and I think we're gonna come up 1 short of a limit, which is totally fine. 9 keepers, definitely a great day out on the kayak. There's 1. These are big ones too. That's a small female. And look at this guy. Big keeper. Nice 7-incher. That was way more than expected on that one. But anyways, we'll dump this out. Whew. Man, good day crabbing. 9 keepers. So I do have 1 more thing to show you that I do with these crab in order to keep them fresh. So I'll do that in a second. But first, I just wanted to let you know all of this gear that you see that I use today, everything from the bait cages to the hoop nets to the ropes to the buoys to the crab gauge, all of that you can get on the Promar website. And like I mentioned earlier, right now they're doing a special promo code, 20% off. I'm pretty sure this is the most discounted you're gonna find unless it's on a clearance or something, which I don't know if these ever go on clearance, but anyways, 20% off via the promo code. So I highly recommend checking it out. If you need any crab gear, jump on the deal. Use the promo code DHF20 to get 20% off your order. All that information will be down in the video description as well. But anyways, yeah, there's still some crabs out here. So if you're interested in getting Dungeness crab and are worried that the commercial season might put a damper on things, well, it might be a little tougher, but there's definitely still crab to get. And you know, obviously I caught 9 crab, and if I worked at it, I could probably get the 10th one, but you know, 9 is perfectly enough for me. So almost the limit, but yeah, anyways. But like I said, one more thing that I want to show you that I do with these crab, and I think it makes a huge difference when you're eating them. So let me go pack up and I'll show you that right now. All right, we're all packed up. Got the kayak on top of the car, strapped down. Got my crabs in here. And one last pro tip for y'all. So especially if you have a long drive home from the crabbing grounds, or if you're not gonna be cooking your crab right away when you get home, one thing that I like to do is keep your crabs in here with some salt water. So I filled this up halfway with salt water when I was out there catching the crab, and then get an aerator to make sure that that water's aerated and those crabs stay nice and lively down there so they're not suffering and they don't die on the ride home. And this particular aerator is a little bit cooler than the ones that I used to have. I used to have just a regular on-off aerator, battery powered. And this one from Promar is a 2-way air pump. So what that means is it can run on battery, but it also has this plug-in right here via this cord to run off of your car power, your cigarette lighter. So once I get the car running, I'll turn this on. But in the meantime, we'll get this aerator running. It also has 2 different speeds, so I don't know if you can hear it. That's the low speed, that's the high speed. We're definitely gonna put it into high speed since we got so many crab today. We got our bubbler here with the car charger. Once I start the car, I'll plug this in so I don't have to use the battery power, but you can see it's got the tube going in there, making sure that air or that water is nice and aerated. Perfect for these crab. And honestly, I've kept them in this for a long time. I don't even know how long they would survive like this. And it's going to serve just 2 benefits. One, obviously it keeps those crabs nice and fresh, so that way when we get home they're not like half dead already. I don't really know if it affects the flavor too much, but you definitely feel better eating a crab that was, you know, it was nice and lively when you threw it in the pot, or right before you threw it in the pot at least. And then 2, it kind of purges those crabs. So I learned this from my buddy Ish with Fish, who actually showed me this little trick here, so shout out to Ish with Fish. But anyways, yeah, the second benefit is that it's kind of purging those crabs. So even though, you know, they look clean, there's still some like sand and stuff throughout their system. So when they sit in there, obviously this is just straight seawater, so it kind of flushes out some of the sand and mud and stuff that they have in their system, and probably honestly some like fecal matter. But anyways, once you, like when you take the crabs out and cook them, and then you look at the seawater that's left in there, you're happy that a lot of that gunk isn't in the crabs when you went to cook them. So anyways, a couple of benefits and just another nice product that Promar has to offer. That's gonna wrap it up for this one. Successful crabbing trip. It always seems like crabbing is a lot of hard work and effort, but it's definitely worth it once you get home and you taste that fresh Dungeness crab. So if you haven't done it before, check out Promar. They have everything you need to do any kind of crabbing, whether it be from a kayak, boat, or even from shore. They got you covered. And like I said before, check out that promo code down in the description. Thank you again to Promar for hooking us up, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Later.